All right, let's dive right in. We're going to explore a story that's literally written in our DNA. It's a story about history, identity, and incredible survival, all hidden away in the stunning, rugged landscapes of Baja, California.
But let me start by asking you something. What if you could read your own DNA, like a history book? I mean, really read it. What incredible stories of survival and resilience do you think you'd find in there? It sounds like science fiction, right? But it's a question that scientists are now able, amazingly, to answer.
Okay, so where does this story come from? Well, it all starts with a huge, groundbreaking study. Scientists looked at the DNA of thousands of people from all over Mexico. But they weren't just looking at any DNA. They were focused on something called mitochondrial DNA. Think of it like a perfect family heirloom, passed down only from mother to child, generation after generation. It gives us this crystal clear, unbroken line straight back into the country's maternal history.
And what they found? Honestly, it's just staggering. When they traced all these maternal lines back, they discovered that almost 90% of them, let that sink in, 90%, are of indigenous American origin.
And it gets even more amazing. This huge majority, that 90%, traces back to just 4 major founding mothers, or founding groups. Scientists have a name for these. They call them haplogroups. The easiest way to think about it is like the 4 main trunks of a massive family tree that almost everyone branches off from. These 4 groups are the absolute maternal bedrock of modern Mexico.
So, what's the big takeaway here? It's that the DNA tells this incredibly powerful story of resilience. Despite everything, centuries of colonization, upheaval, displacement, the indigenous female legacy wasn't wiped out. It didn't just survive, it thrived. It's the very foundation of the population today.
Okay, but numbers are one thing. To really get the human story behind them, we need to zoom in, way in. We're going from the big picture of all of Mexico down to one very specific place, the Baja California Peninsula. This is where that genetic legacy we've been talking about faced one of its absolute toughest tests, in a land completely transformed by the mission system you can see laid out on this map.
You see this long, dry finger of land, kind of cut off from the rest of Mexico? It has a history that's totally unique, and it's right here that our 2 big stories collide. The story of genetic survival and the equally powerful story of cultural endurance among the first peoples of this region.
I mean, look at this place. For thousands of years, this beautiful but incredibly tough environment has been home to the Yucatemuama peoples. And they weren't just living here, they were masters of this desert. They knew how to move with the seasons, from the high mountains to the valleys, and all the way to the coast.
Now, Yamano isn't just one single group. It's really a family of distinct peoples. You've got the Kiliwa, the Pai Pai, the Kumeyaay, the Kukapa. And these are the people at the very heart of our story. They're the ones who endured.
Okay, let's bring the science back in for a second, because this is really cool. Geneticists have this amazing tool called effective population size. Basically, it lets them look back in time through DNA. It's not just counting heads, it's measuring how many people in a population were actually contributing their genes to the next generation. This lets them spot periods of growth, but also, and this is key, moments of sharp decline, what they call a population bottleneck.
And you can probably guess what the data showed. The science found a massive genetic bottleneck, a sharp decrease in effective population size right when European colonizers arrived. The DNA itself shows the echo of a historical catastrophe, its history written in the genes.
And this really shows you what that bottleneck meant in the real world. For the Humano people, it was a complete and total upheaval of their entire way of life. One day, you're moving freely across vast territories. The next, you're confined to small communities. Your whole world, your entire way of surviving, was turned upside down. Everything changed.
Historians talk about this as 3 huge waves of change that just crashed over the Yumanano people, one after another. First came the mission period. Then, right after that, came the expansion of capitalist ranching and mining. And then, in the 20th century, came land reforms that often put them in direct conflict with new groups moving in. It was just relentless.
And just when you think it couldn't get more disruptive, it did. In 1848, a new border gets drawn right through the middle of the Yakamano homeland. Think about that. A line on a map suddenly splitting families, splitting communities. People who shared everything, language, culture, family, were now citizens of 2 different countries. Mexico on one side, the United States on the other.
And this photo, this says it all, doesn't it?
What you're looking at is traditional Pai Pai pottery. It's their culture, made real, that you can hold in your hands. But look where it's being sold. This isn't Baja, California, Mexico. This is Vijas, California, in the USA. It's proof that even though a border was drawn, the connection, the culture, it was never, ever broken.
Which leads us to today. Because right now, something really incredible is happening. Yemeno communities on both sides of that border are actively reconnecting. They're finding those lost family lines, they're strengthening the bonds that somehow survived, and they're building a shared identity that a political line on a map tried and failed to erase.
And that brings us right back to where we started. The science, the DNA, it proves the story of an incredible, enduring maternal legacy. But it's the culture, the history of the Yemeno people that shows us how they did it. How did they survive? Through pure resilience, through memory, and through a sense of identity that just could not be broken.
I don't think anything captures that spirit better than this quote from a Kukapa elder named Adela Portillo. Listen to this. She said that when she speaks her language, it's as if I could revive all my people who are already gone. Wow. In just a few words, she explains it all. Language isn't just words, it's the living thread that connects today all the way back to the ancestors.
So it leaves you with this one final thought. The story of Baja California's first peoples is just this amazing reminder that history isn't just something you find in dusty old books. It's written in our cells. It's inside all of us. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other incredible stories of resilience and survival are waiting right now to be told in our own DNA?